Outdoors Delmarva covers everything outdoors,
including real hunting and fishing situations involving wildlife.
We do our best each week to bring you tasteful content,
but viewer discretion is advised.
Now enjoy the show.
We'll begin this week in Easton to meet the May recipient of the WBOC Mountaire Farm to Table Scholarship.
It's then off to North Bay Marina to help get boats ready for the water.
Scorchy Talls takes us to Chincoteague to meet a man who deals in minnows.
And then we'll check out Denrec's efforts in repopulating American shad in the Nanticoke.
Outdoors Delmarva starts right now.
Welcome to Outdoors Delmarva, the show that celebrates our communities, our cultures and traditions, and the places we call home. My name is Jason Lee.
And I'm Lauren Hitch.
Lauren, did you know that June is National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month?
Well, working alongside you is National Migraine, Headache, and Awareness Month every month.
Yeah, whatever. The reason I bring it up is that June is also the National Great Outdoors Month. So getting outdoors does have a tendency to alleviate headaches.
Unless the source of your headache goes along with you.
And I'm never leaving.
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. And now, here are Jason Lee and Lauren Hitch.
We are proud to partner with Mountaire Farms to honor Delmarva High School seniors who have a passion for agriculture or the culinary arts.
And we're proud to introduce to you the May recipient of the Farm to Table Scholarship, Ryan Trahar.
I was very young and I was getting the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, a lot? And I was at a dinner table, I can't remember where, but my whole family was laughing and having fun, and I realized food makes people happy, and I like making people happy. I took a couple cooking classes while I was a little bit younger, but right when I turned 14, I immediately got a job working in a restaurant as a food runner. And as the years went by, I just stayed in the restaurant business.
We have a work-based learning program. So Ryan has always portrayed that he was interested in culinary. And since we don't offer a culinary program at this time, that's where we were able to get him connected into different restaurants. And then over time, he's been able to explore different restaurants. Like currently we're at Bain Rouge, which he absolutely adores and he loves working here. And this really gives him that hands-on experience that we don't offer at Can Island High School. So he's got accepted to Culinary Institute of America. He's planning on attending at the California campus. And he's definitely someone where he wants to become an executive chef. He wants to own and run his own restaurant over time. And knowing Ryan, that's going to happen 110%. So that is definitely where I see Ryan growing as a human being and as a professional and as a chef.
I think there's some natural talent that Ryan possesses. You know, his outlet that he's chosen to demonstrate that is the culinary arts, is the hospitality field. There's natural talent that's involved, but I also think there's a learning curve that's involved. And if you're not open to learning and making mistakes and trying things over and over and over and learning new things, then you can't unlock that natural talent. So I think Ryan, kind of as myself, was very lucky to figure out early on that he possesses a natural talent for this and kind of found his outlet rather quickly instead of having, to try 2 or 3 different things.
I'd like to attend CIA and go abroad with their internship program. And once I graduate, I would hope to go back to that restaurant, make that connection, and travel, learn, cook in as many restaurants as I can. And someday I would love to open a restaurant, something really nice, and just work my heart out, do what I love.
Ryan Trahar, for your commitment to feeding the world like we do at Mountaire Farms, it's my pleasure to present to you the WBOC Mountaire Farm to Table Scholarship Award. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Once again, congratulations, Ryan.
To learn more about the Farm to Table Scholarship, go to WBOC.com and search Farm to Table.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, which is presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
We're all ready to get out on the boat and enjoy the water.
But our friends at North Bay Marina had a question to ask. Is your boat as ready for the water as you are? Scott, Memorial Day weekend was just this past weekend, and I would imagine that there were probably quite a few boat owners out there who may or may not have regretted not maintaining their boat over the winter.
Unfortunately, there's always people who just try to wing it and put the boat back in the water, and there's a reason why there's certain services that need to be done in the fall and then done in the spring again before the boat goes back in the water to avoid those types of issues.
Yeah, and the last thing anybody wants to do as a boat owner is wing it.
No, nobody wants to get stuck, and nothing takes a beautiful day and turns it all south if you need to be towed in. All boats that are kept in a wet slip environment where the boat's kept in the water have to have anti-fouling paint applied in this particular part of the world because of the fact that the little microorganisms that create all these great little barnacles and grass and slime and all these kind of things, they will dramatically affect the performance and longevity of the boat if they're allowed to accumulate on the boat bottom. The flip side of that is, once the boat is out of the water for an extended period of time, the paint loses its ability to polish like it did when it was fresh. So that's why on boats that aren't left in the water year-round, the bottom paint really needs to be renewed on an annual basis.
All right, so an annual basis like that, along with the preventative maintenance, all stuff that you do here at North Bay Marina. And there's something else that you do here too, detailing of the boats.
We have a detailing department. We also do fiberglass, cosmetic repairs, gel coat, chips, minor impacts, things like that. We also have our own propeller shop. Just by being used in our environment where they come in contact with a sandy bottom, it's inevitable. And once you do that, it reduces the diameter of the propeller. And we see propellers oftentimes that still look okay, but yet the propeller has lost almost 25 to 30% of its actual blade surface because it's worn away on the edges. And obviously that's not good for the engine, and it's going to dramatically affect the way the boat performs in the water.
So a simple propeller repair or replacement can save your engine and your experience on the water in the long run.
Absolutely, all these things can.
You've got a full parts, full service, and of course you've got a full inventory. So if you're just like, you know what, I either have a boat that I need to get taken a look at, or I'm looking at a new boat, this is the place to come.
We sure think so.
And there's always something that you like to say at the end of all of our segments here. Would you mind, please?
Yes, sir. Get outdoors, Delmarva, and buy a boat. And if not, get it fixed.
To be sure your boat is in ship shape, call or go online to northbaymarina.com and schedule your service.
Because the water is no place to have an issue, especially one that could have been fixed while you were still on land.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
We met Jake Evans a couple of weeks ago, and he showed us how he's helping Delmarva anglers.
But we turned back the clock to see how one Chincoteague man has been helping Delmarva anglers in his own way in this week's Remembering Scorchy Taws.
Honoring the life and legacy of Scorchy Taws, thanks to Shorts Marine in Long Neck, Delaware. Shorts Marine, everything but the water.
66-year-old Frank Williams is red-haired, ruddy, and ready for menopotting any hour of any day.
Really like it. That's all I've known, and I really enjoy it, and a lot of peace of mind, and it's just no other way for me.
It's a good bet that any given flounder you caught on a live minnow in eastern shore of Virginia waters for the past 25 or 30 years was itself caught by Frank Williams. Frank Williams, a lifelong resident of the Chincoteague area, is almost as much a part of the Delmarva landscape as steamed crabs, but is one of its best-kept secrets. There are those who will tell you that Frank is the #1 minnow man on the entire East Coast. Bait and tackle shop owners in Virginia flounder country depend on him. On Wednesday, we joined Frank on one of his daily minnow pot fishing sojourns. Not to help, surely not to offer advice, but to just observe a man who is wallowing in the caress of local history. We went no further than the placid shallow waters of narrow Piney Island Creek, a place watched over by historic Assateague Lighthouse, a place where most of his yesterdays are buried, and a place where the catching expectations rarely exceed the reality.
You're always expecting a lot of minnows in your pots, and most of the time you don't get disappointed. Most of the time you have a lot of minnows in there.
Frank Williams designs his own pots. He baits them with herring, bunker, or any oily fish. He has caught as many as 15 to 18 gallons of minnows a day.
It all depends on the flounder. The flounder come in pretty good, you know. We got, you know, really hustle, and they use a lot of minnows.
Competition is not beating a path to Frank's door. There is no pot of gold at the end of the minnow rainbow. That doesn't bother him in the least.
It's just enjoyable, you know, to get out on a, you know, pretty day and be out where nature is and, you know, see the birds and see the Lord's work.
Remembering Scorchy Taws is sponsored by Shorts Marine. Online at shortsmarine.com.
Did you know that Maryland striped bass season is underway, going on until July 15th, then again from August 1st to December 10th?
Did you know that the slot limit, minimum and maximum size of a striped bass in Maryland is 19 to 24 inches?
And did you know that in Delaware, the slot limit between July 1st and August 31st is 28 to 31 inches, and that's regulated to coastal waters up to 3 miles out?
Now you do.
Did You Know is sponsored by North Bay Marina. Outdoors Delmarva will be right back. You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, which is presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Sadly, nature needs our help more often than not.
And when it comes to the repopulation of American shad in the Nanticoke, that help can be found in Laurel.
I'm an environmental scientist with the state of Delaware. My main focus is natural species restoration, primarily American shad restoration here on the Nanticoke River. And today I'm just going to walk through how we go about collecting shad for the hatchery, as well as giving you a quick tour and look into the hatchery as well. So this is our electrofishing raft that we use in order to collect our shad. It's a very custom raft. It's a Zodiac raft, about 16 feet. It was rigged up so we can get into shallow waters up into the headwaters of the Nanticoke. On this raft, of course, we have the cathodes and we have anodes that are used to give a slight shock to the fish, just shock them enough to stun them and bring them up and allow our netter to be in the front of the boat and allow them to net the fish up. We also have a holding tank on board that we use to hold up to like 10 to 20 fish at most. Our goal is to collect them while they're in the system spawning and bring them back to our hatchery so they can spawn in our hatchery. We then move and store the fish into this tank here. This is our holding / transport tank. We hold up to around 400 gallons of water in here. I'm comfortable holding around 40 fish. And again, similar to the raft, we have oxygen on board, as well as a pump that keeps water circulating. And once we do collect the fish, we do collect biological data from the fish. We get scale samples that we use for aging. We get length and sex of the fish as well too. One of the things we also do with the fish is we implant a transmitter in the fish that allows us to have a unique identification code on each fish, so we can kind of track when we catch that fish, if we catch that fish again. We scan every fish that we bring on board so we will know if we caught that fish in the past. Once we actually bring the fish back in our transport tank, we immediately deposit them in here. Essentially, this is a 15-foot in diameter tank. We hold roughly maybe 1,000 or so gallons of water in here. And I'm comfortable holding 100, 120 adult American shad in here. We have in the center of this spawning tank, we have a standpipe that allows the eggs when they spawn to go through the standpipe. And this basically feeds the eggs out of here inside of our egg collection tank, which is this area here. And we check this every morning, and if there are eggs in here, we then move the eggs from this tank into our egg jars, essentially. The eggs will stay in this until they're about ready to hatch, which is between 3 to 7 days, depending on the water temperatures. And here we allow the fish to hatch out into our culture tanks Prior to stocking them, we do mark them because since they're hatchery fish, we have to be able to distinguish them from wild fish or native fish. And to do that, we put a mark on them using oxytetracycline, OTC. It's just a soluble powder that we put into the water that creates a distinguishable mark on the inner ear bone or the otolith of the fish. If we get a fish from another system, say further down from Maryland, we'll actually be able to determine if that was a Maryland fish versus our Delaware fish. I typically keep them in here no more than 3 weeks. I found that around after 4 weeks, the mortality rate starts to increase. Once I start noticing mortality happens, I then release the fish, which happens between like 3 to 4 weeks. They are a very popular forage fish for a lot of species. When they're eggs, bluegill and other sunnies will prey upon them. Once they get a little bit bigger, then largemouth bass and crappie or white perch will prey upon them. Until once they get to adult size, then you have ospreys, eagles, striped bass, bigger catfish, and even bigger largemouth bass will prey upon them. And that's only in our system. Once they go out into the ocean, then they have a whole nother host of creatures there that will prey upon them. I tell everybody I'm actually working to not have a job, because my goal before I retire is to have this population to a point that this hatchery is not needed. I think this is important to do because one, American shad is such an important forage fish for so many other like recreation important species, from striped bass to largemouth bass. And just bringing back this species will help so many other species as well too. I'm just a fisher at heart, so anything that gets me on the water fishing, I love it.
We've got more stories like this coming up with Denrek in the near future.
But up next, we're checking out some viewer photos, so stick around.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva with Jason Lee and Lauren Hitch. Presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
It's time to flip through the photo album and take a look at your latest pictures.
Thanks to our friends at North Bay Marina.
Jeremy Elmore of Preston reeled in this 18-pound, 35-inch snakehead in Cambridge. Nice work, Jeremy.
Rick Hood of Delmar went down to Accomack County for some fishing, and the long drive paid off. That's a great-looking bass, Rick.
7-year-old Camden West of Georgetown reeled in this monster black drum while doing some surf fishing down to Assateague. We were told that the fish was released back into the water after the picture was taken.
Levi Work is proudly showing off his Milton Pond bass. And if you're wondering why Levi is so proud, it's because at 82 years young, it's Levi's very first one. Congrats, Levi.
7-year-old Connor Weisenflew of Hartley looks forward to a few special days each year, with Youth Trout Fishing Day being on top of that list. And this year, Connor caught his first citation trout. Way to go, Connor.
And DSN's Tim Nolan sent us a picture of a snapping turtle he saw in the backyard of the WBOC studios in Salisbury.
Outdoors Delmarva viewer pictures are sponsored by North Bay Marina.
That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks so much for sending in those great viewer photos. If you have a photo that you'd like to submit, go to outdoorsdelmarva.com and click the banner at the top of the page, or scan the QR code in the bottom corner of your screen.
We hope to see you right back here again next week, but until then, my name is Jason Lee.
And I'm Lauren Hitch, and we hope to see you Outdoors Delmarva.
You've been watching Outdoors Delmarva, a Draper Media production, which is proudly presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. Sponsored by Shorts Marine, everything but the water. By Bell Creek Equipment. For farm, home, or fun, Bell Creek is #1. By Range Time. Time well spent. And by Hunter Emery State Farm, your good neighbor in the outdoors.
And I'm never leaving. Issue that could have been fixed while you were still on there because the water was no pissed off. Couldn't have been fixed when you were still.
Shad in the Nearcoke River.
We're in C.
You don't have to yell about it.
We have it on film that I didn't yell.